Top 10 reason why WoW became so popular by Mad Season Show. Ding, 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 ding. Okay.
When World of Warcraft hit store shelves in 2004, it quickly became a cultural phenomenon, transcending its status as a mere video game to become a global entertainment franchise and redefining an entire genre in the process. As computers had started to become more and more common in households, so too did PC gaming, and during the time, it would be rare to interact with anyone who hadn't at least heard of the game.
I miss
it was
going to
the
GameStop.
cultural phenomenon of the mid-2000s. Even those who had never even played a video game before had picked it up, and as players immersed themselves in the world of Azeroth and shared their experiences with friends and online communities, interest in the game would only grow and grow. But the question is, why? How and why did Blizzard's 2004 hit gain such widespread popularity? Today, we're not only going to answer that question, but we're also going to rank the top 10 reasons why World of Warcraft became one of the most popular video games of all.
I mean, they had a really strong backbone. Blizzard Entertainment, insane backbone. Warcraft 2, Diablo. Oh, is the volume too low? This is Max. He just speaks very soft. Okay, I turned it up a little bit more on my soundboard. Hopefully that's better.
Time.
This particular online game actually has almost 8 million people playing it right
now.
8 million people?
When it comes out, man, I'm just gonna non-stop.
You think he's still playing, chat? He's probably playing Season of Discovery right now and doing Sunken Temple. Parsing 99s. Has like 3 kids.
Big guy.
I'm sorry for my girlfriend.
I'm sorry for my girlfriend.
You know, I'm just gonna keep playing.
Oh!
At number 10, we have Reputation. WoW was first unveiled to the public in 2001 via a trailer at the European Computer Trade Show. And at this point, primarily through their
Diablo, StarCraft
and Warcraft series, Blizzard had already accumulated one of the biggest fan bases in gaming. And rightfully so. Quality took second place to nothing.
Chad, this was my favorite game. When you clicked him, he goes, "Hello." Okay. Hello.
The games released only when they felt that they were refined and polished, and consequently,
I know all their voice lines. I played that so much as a child.
And titles that fell short were canceled altogether, never seeing the light of day. When World of Warcraft was announced to be an MMO,
yo, this screen looks better than classic WoW character selection screen, right? Why did they not keep this?
Oh, the initial reaction was skepticism. Between Warcraft and StarCraft, they had firmly...
Wait, why does this look better than classic WoW right now? What the fuck?
Dominated the RTS genre at this point, and many thought to themselves, why fix something that isn't broken? Why move away from what's been proven to work and take a risk into this unknown territory? At this point in time, MMOs could only be considered as niche. Today, when new titles release, they're met with hundreds of thousands or even millions of players, but mainly due to technical and financial hurdles, the largest
what is this collabed game?
An MMO would be claimed by EverQuest, which amounted to a mere 10,000 players. It was a risky play, to say the least.
Ramstein.
Even so, Blizzard's near-perfect track record gave players that initial push to take the plunge and step foot into the world of Warcraft. But, as they soon realized, while it may be easy to enter, leaving is another story. Coming in at number 9, we have Addiction.
Teenager hooked on violent computer games. He's playing them an incredible 16 hours a day. His mother says his personality has changed and that he's become moody and violent, and his addiction is...
I fucking hated TVs that said this. My dad would not let me play games saying like, oh, there's like psychopath killing people every day in game, and they forget that real life and video game and starts killing people IRL. I'm like, dude, that's not gonna happen, man. These guys are just psychos, you know?
Tearing the family apart.
Flash, fantasy, and fixation are the features that contribute to the addiction that
your parents never said that, chat?
for an online game called World of Warcraft.
It's very addicting. There's so many things you can do.
RPG games, by their nature, can be a pretty addicting genre. The thought of slowly but surely progressing a character day by day is enough to keep most people hooked.
That looks
But
fun.
introduce a competitive multiplayer aspect to it with challenging group-based content to clear, as well as friends to meet.
Was
and spend
that
time with.
you?
MMOs
No.
today are known for their addictive nature.
I was sucking on my
and
thumb at
along
that
with
time.
Games such as Ultima Online, EverQuest, RuneScape, and more, World of Warcraft was at the forefront of discussion of video game addiction. It was this online, virtual, persistent world with its own community, and some would even spend more time in it than their own actual mundane lives. It's unique in the sense that it just never ends. In a typical RPG, no matter how addictive they may be, players are eventually met with an ending credits and a thanks for playing in an amount of time that's equal to how hooked that they got. There's this safety mechanism in the sense that the more time they invest, the more quickly it's over. But in MMOs, there is no technical finish line. The experience is really what you make of it, and with content being consistently added through patches or expansions, the safety mechanism is removed as there's now always something to do. Questing, dungeons, raiding, PvP, gold farming, ERP, and if you felt like you've done it all, you do it again on another character. It's a veritable online theme park that only grows, which leads us to number 8.
Dude, I think players ruined gaming, man. Players ruined gaming. I'm like watching through this and I see people like backpedaling or like keyboard turning. Like, that's the beauty of gaming, man. When nobody judges and you're playing for fun and having fun with your friend. But if you do any of those, you get made fun of. You gotta min-max and people tell you how to play. If you die, they'll go, dude, you suck at the fucking game. Holy shit, how did you die? And man, players ruined gaming, dude. We finished the game in like 2 days now, full biz in 1 week.
To say that MMOs are
God.
unique is a pretty big understatement because they are
That'll
so
never
large
change, though.
and there is
Gaming's
so
too
much
big
to
now.
do. One can differ
Too many
from
guides
another
also.
in many different ways. One of the largest being sandbox versus theme park. The easiest way to describe these two subgenres is that the sandbox focuses more on player-made content, whereas the theme park relies on developer-made content. It's open-endedness versus linearity. An example of player-made content would be a player-hosted dueling tournament. Members of a community get together, they eliminate each other one by one in a tournament-style setting, and
Dude, how did Star Wars F up, by the way? I played Star Wars Jedi Knight. That game was so fun. You had to actually like aim your lightsaber when you throw it or aim your gun, but their MMO? What is this?
They eliminate
What
each other.
is that? That looks like
they're
shit.
one by one in a tournament-style setting, and the winners are given a
You're
prize
literally standing going. Dude, that looks so
that
bad.
is funded by the host.
You know what the worst MMO was when you're growing up and trying out different MMOs? The ones where you can't move as you play. Like if you hit your ability button, they're like, and you can't like fucking like. WoW, you have it's so fluid. WoW did such a good job, man.
Of the tournament. There's no built-in interface nor system to
That game was
accommodate any of
goat.
this. The scheduling,
Nah, dude, this
judging,
game looks like
management,
ass clap.
Participation, everything is run
Jedi
by
Knight was insane though. If you guys play Jedi Knight,
the
holy.
community. On the other hand, for
PvP in
developer
Jedi Knight was
content,
insane.
To enter a PvP tournament, maybe you can enter a queue system, and then you're matched against other players via an algorithm, and you're also given access to a special vendor to acquire gear upon winning. In essence, the players are accommodated by developer-made content. In the early years of the MMO, the industry was largely dominated by the sandbox style. The genre, again, was very niche. There's no one game that had become successful enough to establish a
What
proven
is this,
formula
chat? This
that
game
led
looks
to
like
success.
ass.
So, because of this, experimentation
This game looks like
trial
ass,
in
too.
search of this formula.
Dude, WoW was just too good,
Consequently,
man.
direction was lacking because the genre wasn't as profitable. publishers weren't willing to fund it as much, so
Ultimate Online's so
content was
good.
often the only
I'm sorry,
choice.
guys. I'm
And
sorry.
while this
It's
itself
not
didn't
as-
lead to mainstream success within the industry,
This
it would
game's
lay
ass though, chat.
the groundwork for it. And so today, the genre is largely dominated by theme parks,
God,
specially
RuneScape,
crafted
man.
dungeons, raids, PvP battlegrounds, scheduled, handmade, developer-made.
That was
content.
RuneScape.
And that's the case.
Sorry, I just have a bad reputation with RuneScape because I fought with so many kids at school
Because in 2000
that played RuneScape.
an MMO was so popular,
And I always said WoW
that
is
it had
better.
found
WoW
the
is better.
formula that would shape the entire genre for decades to come. Where other games had little to no direction in their questing campaigns, World of Warcraft offered a full linear guided campaign from level 1 to level 60. Dozens of custom-made dungeons were designed to be conquered in parties of 5, where PvP in other games was often a side activity and often lacked structure. World of Warcraft offered a system that both tracked progress and offered rewards, along with specialized objective-based battlegrounds to queue into at any time. Selling items no longer required haggling with the introduction of the auction house. Nearly every aspect was curated by developers, and it offered direction during a time where there was little. And perhaps most important of all of these features, coming in at number 7, we have the rating.
Who the fuck was that? Well, left side, even side, many whelps. Now handle it.
Dude, that guy is a war chief. That's good raid leading, man. Holy shit.
World of Warcraft, along with EverQuest, would help modernize and standardize many features that today are considered staples of MMOs, one of which being the raiding. Since the dawn of RPGs, you've had cannon fodder and bosses, some big bad that's in charge of the operation who provides a more formidable challenge, and of course, greater rewards. The same was true in
Wait, that guy
MMOs
still
prior to
plays?
World of Warcraft,
No
of
way.
course, but they were often out in the open world, having lengthier respawn timers, so for guilds to kill these bosses and to collect their loot, they would have to race against other competing guilds for kill credit. Because of this, endgame activity as a whole was extremely exclusive and competitive, and it often required scouts to camp spawns for hours on end and alert their guild whenever something spawned so they could all make a mad dash and be the first to form. Now, World of Warcraft wasn't the first to implement instanced raiding.
I'm so happy we don't have to play games that look like this chat.
As far as I know, that title belongs to EverQuest with their Plains raids, but due to its overwhelming popularity that it would soon gain, they would standardize it. These raids had a unique ID for each guild and were completely private.
Man, WoW
receiving
graphic is
a day
timeless.
or weekly basis, which allowed people to schedule accordingly and clear it on their own time. On its release, this was the quality of life feature of all quality of life features, and it opened up the entire endgame to a much more casual audience. And not only that, but the bosses themselves were much improved. Today,
WoW
these
players talking
early
about,
raids
dude,
are
WoW
often
graphic
seen
was
as
good.
archaic and outdated compared to modernized raiding, which is true, but
Dude, look at this. What the fuck is that? I could draw that with my dick.
at the time,
What is that? Look at what the fuck is that arm, man?
in a genre
Compare
where
that to
raid
WoW.
bosses often
Look at that. What the fuck is that?
amounted to a unique model, higher health, and more
God.
damage. They were a cut above the rest. Even having 1 or 2 mechanics was considered advanced at the time, and this combined with instance raiding would quickly become one of the game's biggest draws. As players cleared these raids, word of their conquest would spread across social media, providing
Nil
an
Bog does
intriguing look
Onyxia.
into
2005.
what was then the bustling
Holy.
MMO genre.
6
Which
attempts.
leads us to number 6, and that's the fact that World of Warcraft was one of the first widely used forms of social media.
What was this video? What was this chat? I remember seeing this. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with that guy?
Today, interacting with strangers across
What
the
is
country
that?
or even the globe isn't really that big of a deal. In all places where technology has been integrated into society,
Brittany
it is
went
now
bald and
considered
magazine flamed
standard,
her,
but
so he made a video.
back
I
then,
see.
logging into Xbox Live to tell somebody that you fucked their mother was a much newer and mind-blowing thing. Welcome to the rise of social media as personal computers and the internet.
Oh my god, I remember this.
started
I remember
to
both
become
of
more
this. Oh
common
my, we're so
influence.
old,
The world would
chat.
be connected in ways that they never were before. Instead of remembering the Dewey Decimal System and going to the library, any question could be answered with a simple Google search. Learning how to change your oil, how to repair a certain toaster model.
Holy
The internet
fuck.
has been as revolutionary and as life-changing as peanut butter. Out of the millions of web pages worldwide,
MySpace.
a certain number of them were dedicated to what we now know as social media. MySpace would be one of the earliest widely used
How did MySpace fuck up?
these websites, followed by Facebook, and surprisingly enough, World of Warcraft. MMOs are social media, where the social are your fellow players, and the media is, of course, the game that you're playing. Multiplayer games as a whole would thrive during this time, but much of the spectacle surrounding World of Warcraft spawned from its ability to foster the creation of online communities where players from all over the world come together to interact.
Dude, you know what's the craziest? How did WoW blow up when you had to pay 15 bucks a month? Like, there was no game online where you had to pay monthly. Like, wow. That was the hardest thing to convince.
Collaborate, and form friendships.
So hard to
Through
convince
features like
people.
guilds,
It's like, yo,
chat
play World of
channel,
Warcraft. It's so fun, man. It's so fun. Come on, buy it. And then they buy it. They're like, all right, I have the expansion. Ah, shit. You got to pay monthly. Ah, shit. I don't know about that. 15 bucks. Holy fuck. Dude, 15 bucks back then? Oh my goodness.
player-created events. World of Warcraft provided a platform for players to connect and socialize. in
This
ways
event was
similar
fucked up.
to other social media platforms. Players in major cities would share epic stories of a raid run, talk PvP strategy, or help somebody find Mancrick's wife. Whether
20
it
years later,
was
we're still playing.
joining a
I
guild,
mean, now it's fine, right? Now people understand you pay online to play games and whatnot, right? But back then, there was no game or that I knew of where you had to pay monthly subscription, right?
participating in a raiding team, PvP
Back
with a
then,
group,
yes.
posting on the realm.
Now it's
forums,
normalized. There's so much pay to win
shitposting
or
and
pay
trade chat.
games.
Much like social media, World of Warcraft provided opportunities for players to come together, build communities, and spout politically driven vomit for the world to ingest. And at the time, believe it or not, many people hadn't seen anything like it. It was a living, breathing, online, persistent, virtual
May
world,
die.
which brings us to number 5, why World of Warcraft became so popular, and that's the world of Azeroth.
Yeah, I'll be playing Kata, chat. I'll be playing Kata.
Second, perhaps only to the actual gameplay, is the environment in which players explore. But a massive world was something that World of Warcraft didn't invent.
What is that game? Dude, this one looks kind of
The
cool.
RPG genre at this point was largely defined by their immersive
Wait,
and
what is
expansive
this?
worlds, in fact. These other realms that existed persisted
Holy
even
shit!
after you logged off. There was something happening in every corner. This alone would do much to immerse players into these virtual lives, if you will. What changed since I last logged in? I wonder what level my friend is. Did they run that dungeon yet? Is there anything new on the auction house? Is that new raid open? It was unique and fascinating at the time, and the World of Warcraft didn't invent it.
That was a
They
huge one,
certainly
gotcha.
improved upon it, with over 40 zones, dungeons, several major cities on its release. The sheer enormity of the world was as intimidating as it was varied, featuring lush forests, towering mountains, barren deserts, and mysterious dungeons.
So
Each
cool.
zone was meticulously designed with unique aesthetics and themes, offering players this great sense of exploration and discovery. And perhaps most innovative of all,
Hey,
most of these
savix, I
areas were
won't say
fully
my king because I have my pride. Kappa.
explorable without the need of loading screens. Something that you don't really think of today, but Back then,
Back
while other MMOs
then.
had these large worlds, due to technical limitations, they would all be held within their own instance and requiring a loading
Station.
screen when traversing from one to another, and consequently, what
Star
would
Wars?
suffer. Perhaps one of the most important elements of MMOs was immersion. It's so important for the genre. You want the player to feel like they're part of this world and community, and nothing breaks that more than this loading screen every time they traverse between zones. So while World of Warcraft would have these,
I think that's one thing too. Back then, when people played their character, or at least my server was very tamed. I heard there's like trolls in other servers, but if you built a bad rep, everyone kind of knew within that circle, like in that community, and everyone was super helpful and nice to each other. We played on Lothar. Lothar was cool. We were friends with like all the hordes too. Because everyone we PvP'd with were like the same people, and we would duel them at Barrens or Stormwind. It was cool, man. Nowadays, so many more trolls. So many more.
between the two continents, Eastern Kingdoms,
Or
of
toxic
Kalimdor,
people.
and also through dungeons and raids, every area was accessible without the use of a loading screen, which was extremely innovated, and it allowed players to travel between these extremely varied environments seamlessly. You could go from the snow-capped peaks of Dunmorrow to the forested Loch Modan, just like that, and it really made for an immersive and unique experience, and it was something that was only made possible by the next item on our list, which is its graphical style.
Thank you, Mr. Derv. Hi. The graphic. Yeah, graphics great.
As shown by the recent re-release's popularity, its graphical style has aged very well, often described as stylized or even cartoonish. It was a deliberate choice, and one that's
Very
paid
good
dividends
choice.
over the years. Unlike realistic graphics that can quickly become outdated as technology advances, World of Warcraft's graphics
that didn't
remain
look
to be
terrible.
charming and visually appealing even to this day. During the time, many of the other MMOs would attempt to emulate this more realistic graphical style, and they would impress upon their release. Realistic by early 2000s.
I would choose Night Elves anytime over that.
Well, let's just say that the technology has improved. But even putting aesthetics
Wow,
aside,
look at how goated these guys. Giga Chaz.
where the style really shined was accessibility. One of the reasons why players would
Oh, I
be
love
able to
that.
traverse between the zones.
Yeah, where's the
especially
shoulder though, my king? My king, you're effing it up.
earlier without loading screens was due to this less intensive graphic style. In addition, computers were incredibly expensive during their adoption into the mainstream.
Oh my
with
God.
many matching or even surpassing even the
No, it
highest
wasn't that much. I remember my dad got me a Costco PC that costed like 400 or 300. I forgot.
and gaming rigs of today, and that's even with inflation.
But I will say, when I turned around in like big graphic areas, I would have like little black bars coming through, like cracking black stuff.
and Big Mac meals costing over $17 fucking dollars. But I digress. But combining this with the unorthodox
We play
monthly
monthly,
subscription that the genre commanded, there are many barriers keeping the MMO
Okay,
genre,
maybe if you bought a super computer, you have to pay a lot, but you could get cheap ass computers too.
from breaking into mainstream popularity. So by going for this more relaxed graphical style, they would minimize.
We
one of
watched
these
this? No,
very
this came out recently. This came out 6 days ago.
standing
Maybe you
out
watched it
among
with
players
another
in the game.
streamer. The community.
Coming in at number 3, we have the community. Owing to number 6 on the list, World of Warcraft on its release was a very social game.
Thank you,
To
Tyler.
hook players, you
Much
have
love.
to immerse them, and one of the most effective ways of doing so was to give them the feeling that they were living in this online society. This virtual ecosystem of recognizable names, guilds, cliques, groups, and to encourage interaction in many different levels, whether it be mob tags only sharing in groups, group quests, dungeons, raids, crafting reagents made by other professions, making the most efficient way to farm honor to be through group play. To do much of the content within the game, it would require the aid of other players, and this would serve as a push for people to make friends that last even to this day, nearly 20 years later. And on this front, for many, it would become more than a game. It would become the nerd equivalent to
That's
meeting up at a
Goose's
bar
dad right there.
on the weekends to stay in touch with friends.
Danish
The only
dad.
difference being, instead of slaying Poon, you were slaying dragons. And even as the game ebbed and flowed over the years in its quality and popularity, what would keep many around was the simple fact that it was a convenient way to spend time with friends. One of the most effective ways of retaining a player in these MMOs is to make it such that if they're thinking of quitting, they're not just walking away from a video game, they're walking away from weekends with the boys. There are many people playing right now where if all of their friends in guild were to quit the next day, that would be it for them.
Damn.
And that's why the community comes in at number 3 on our list of what made World of Warcraft become so popular.
My cousin married a guy from the guild back in TVC. That's crazy.
For number 2, we go back to the basics. The gameplay. Addiction, theme park, raiding, community, graphics, social media, whatever. It means nothing if the gameplay sucks, and this is where World of Warcraft would truly dominate the genre. It just felt good to play,
So
to pop
flow.
recklessness and then just brutally butt blast horde vermin, then send them back to Durotar. It appealed to everyone, casual, hardcore, and everyone in between by offering this blend of accessibility, depth, and engagement, and it would keep them hooked for years. It was designed to be easy to pick up and play, even for newcomers to the genre. The basic mechanics such as targeting enemies, using abilities, or managing resources like health and mana were straightforward and intuitive, and it allowed players to jump right into the action without feeling overwhelmed by the complex and confusing systems that dominated the genre at the time, and while at the same time offering a surprising amount of depth and strategy. Each class had a unique set of abilities and playstyles, which allowed them to experiment with different approaches to combat, whether it be tanking, healing, or damage dealing, with some classes being able to switch between all three.
Dude, I get nostalgic vibe when I see the talent tree, and when there was no guides up, you would do your own build, and it's so bad and collapsed, but at the time you thought you had the best spec. Oh my god, man.
Which allowed them to experiment with
I probably
different
played with
approaches to
worse
combat, whether
talents,
it be
man.
tanking, healing, or damage dealing, with some classes being able to switch between all three with variable success, while a basic understanding would get them along simple things such as questing and leveling. For those ready to take the next step, such as
Next.
with the aforementioned, at the time, complex high-end raiding or competitive ranked PvP, it would require this push into depth and mastery for the more hardcore. But gameplay doesn't just mean combat, it's everything, such as progression.
Dude, that gear
World
looks
of
so
Warcraft
cool.
on its release was extremely effective at giving players the feeling of progression mentioned in the addiction segment. With each level past 10 came a talent point. Every 2 levels came with new or upgraded abilities. Level 40 came with a mount, and each level also opened up these new and exciting zones and dungeons, or higher level gear to equip, whatever. No matter how fast or slow a player was, they logged off feeling like they had accomplished something. And it's something that you only really truly appreciate once you don't have it. And many would realize just how good the gameplay felt when they dabbled into one of the many WoW killers that would challenge its reign, such as Warhammer Online, Age of Conan, Star Wars The Old Republic. Games that released years and years, or a decade after, just couldn't seem to hold a candle to World of Warcraft's finely tuned gameplay, which comes in at number 2, and is trumped by only one other.
Ease of access.
Ultima Online, Asheron's Call, Star Wars Galaxies, EverQuest, RuneScape. These titles would all be crucial in helping form what MMORPGs
Chat, we
are
can't
today.
hear him when you do that, man.
But one thing they all seem to lack that World of Warcraft had was accessibility. Where other games had you invest stat points of unknown function or usefulness right at character creation, World of Warcraft gave you 10 levels to get a handle on the game before giving you your first investable talent point, which could later be refunded. Where other games had harsh penalties to dying, such as XP loss or permanent character death, World of Warcraft simply required a corpse run and a repair bell. Where other MMOs required boss camping and racing other guilds in order to participate in the endgame, World of Warcraft again offered private instanced raids to be cleared at the
More
guild's
bosses were
convenience,
there,
where
but it
other
wasn't
games
too
offered
huge.
These very convoluted and intricate ways of character progression. World of Warcraft offered a very simple and straightforward system
Sure.
that felt intuitive and less intimidating. And it goes on, and all of it was capped off with this fully curated, guided linear campaign of quests that took players all the way from level 1 to level 60 in a sea of extremely harsh penalties for dying, unintuitive systems, lack of direction, high-end graphics requiring expensive computers to run them. World of Warcraft offered the opposite. Its ease of access has played a very crucial role in its popularity by making the game much more approachable and appealing to a broader audience, while at the same time providing a fascinating online community where players can come together to explore, socialize, and embark on epic adventures in the world of Warcraft. Thanks for watching my video. Let me know what you
Thanks,
think.
Mr.
If I
Mad
missed anything,
Season.
or maybe you would
That was
order this
good.
differently. Obviously, it's a very subjective thing, but I think I
look at
covered
the
the
chat.
highlights here. Aside from that, I didn't announce this yet, but memberships are now active on my channel, which
shit.
give you a few different perks such as early access to these videos and some emotes.
Yo,
and
was
badges
it big
and
for you
whatnot,
guys
so
too when he was talking about the graphic? Dude, when we first got the shadow, I was like, dude, that's so cool. Oh my god, I need to upgrade my graphic card. I need that shadow. Oh my. Dude, when Shadow first came out in WoW, it was so big.